Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're looking at a really fascinating piece of source material shared by one of you, our listeners.
Yeah, we're diving into a book from 1945, though it had earlier editions in the 30s called Mind and Memory Training. The author's Ernest E. Wood.
And Wood wasn't just theorizing. He was an educationist, over 30 years experience, founded 2 university colleges, so he's coming from a practical place.
Absolutely. And the book's goal, and ours today, is really to unpack his core ideas and techniques for, well, boosting mental function and memory, all from this, slightly older perspective.
What struck me immediately is how he pushes back against the idea that memory systems are just unnatural tricks.
Right. He argues these methods actually mirror the spontaneous ways that people with naturally great memories operate. We're just learning to harness it consciously.
Okay, that's an interesting angle. So, where does he begin? He asks us to think of the mind as, what was it? A magic box.
Exactly, a magic box filled with ideas. He suggests you picture something simple, like a coin, and just observe what comes out of the box.
So you might think of other coins, maybe where you got it, its shape, the mint.
All sorts of connections just bubble up. And that flow, that linking is crucial. It brings him to concentration,
Which he defines how.
as control of the subject matter and the direction of movement of our thought. Basically, focusing intently on one idea, exploring it fully. His phrase is, completely empty one box before you turn away.
Which is totally different from mind wandering, where you jump from thought to thought without really digging in.
Precisely. He uses another analogy. Good mental machinery needs, cleaning, oiling, and control. Concentration is that control lever.
Okay, so as concentration is control, how does the mind naturally move between ideas? He calls these the roads of thought, right?
Yes, and this is really central to his whole system. He's saying these aren't just academic categories, they're the actual pathways your mind already uses. Understand them, and you can steer your thinking and memory much better. He lays out 4 main ones.
The first one is class.
Yeah, linking something to its category, like a cow is an animal, or linking things in the same category, cow and horse, or even opposites within a class, like hot and cold. He even used little diagrams, kind of like Venn diagrams, to show how ideas fit into broader classes.
Got it. Seeing relationships. What's the second road?
Parts. Linking an object to its components, say, an elephant and its trunk, or linking different parts of the same whole, like the hull and sails of a ship. Again, it's about visualizing how things are put together.
Makes sense. Third is quality.
Linking an object to one of its characteristics, lead, is heavy. Or linking different things that share a quality. The moon and an orange are both round. It's about the abstract attributes.
And the fourth one, proximity, he seems to create a bit differently.
He does. This is about association through experience. Things often found together, like a pen and ink pot or bed and sleep, maybe Brazil and coffee. There might not be a strict logical link. It's more imaginative, based on things being near each other or happening together often in your experience.
So, class, parts, quality, proximity, those are the mind's highways. And he shows this works with an experiment, right? Remembering random words versus linked words.
Exactly. A random list like moon, dairy, etc., very hard. But an associated list like cat, milk, dairy, shed,
Yeah.
much, much easier because your mind naturally follows those roads between the associated words.
Okay, so understand the links. Then step 2 is making the ideas themselves really clear and strong, building vivid mental pictures.
Yes, he insists that thought works best with strong images, and we need to actively train our imagination so words don't become empty shells.
He has exercises for this, like mental workouts.
Pretty much. For seeing, he suggests practicing recalling simple things, a key, a coin mentally, focusing on every single detail, maybe even trying to see both sides at once in your mind, or picturing specific colors vividly.
Good for hearing.
Trying to reproduce sounds or musical notes internally, really aiming to hear them in your mind's ear. Same for touching, recalling sensations like rough, smooth, hot, cold, weight.
And even movement body, imagining yourself walking or running. He tells that story about the man and his watch.
Oh yeah, the guy who used his watch for years but never noticed the numbers were Arabic numerals. He thought he knew the whole thing, but he only knew a part. It shows how little we often truly perceive unless we consciously train that inner observation.
To help focus these images, he has that proscenium idea.
Right, imagine putting the object you're concentrating on onto a mental stage, framed, isolated from distractions.
And keep the images grounded, natural. A statue needs a surface, trees should move a bit, a little background fringe is okay, but the main subject needs to be sharp.
And all this leads to a really key principle, familiarization. connecting the unfamiliar to the familiar using your imagination.
This sounds incredibly practical for learning new things, like, say, a foreign alphabet.
Exactly. Instead of just drilling shapes, look for resemblances to things you already know. He gives examples like seeing a Hebrew letter as a bull's head, or a Bengali letter looking like a knot or gallows. You're hooking the new onto the old.
Making it relatable, like that story about Major Beniowski in the Botanic Garden.
Yeah. He had to learn plant names without a book, so he just gave them names based on immediate, vivid, familiar resemblances, like calling one plant roof covered with snow, because that's what it looked like to him. Wood does it too, seeing a narcissus bending its head or a pansy's velvety face.
It's about creating those personal mental hooks. Does he apply this to remembering people?
He does associate their name or face with something familiar. His example for Professor Dittmer is, well, it's memorable. Dittmer sounded like deep tel in Hindi, which relates to an oil lamp, Deepak tel. So he linked Dittmer, deep tel, oil pot lamp. For science, he insists.
For science, of course. Okay, what about learning foreign words? That seems like a perfect use case.
Absolutely. And his advice here is really strong. Do not try to learn an unfamiliar word and its meaning together just by rote. Too much new information.
So what's the alternative?
Link the unfamiliar sound to the new word to a familiar idea or word in your own language, and then connect that familiar idea to the actual meaning.
Okay, so if a German word like Wunder sounds like wonder, that's easy.
Simple. But for others, find an English word that sounds similar. His example is German Schutz, meaning protection. It sounds a bit like shoot or shut.
Ah, so you link shoot to protection, soldiers shoot to protect, or shut to protection, you shut things away to protect them.
Exactly. And he recommends repeating that link maybe 3 times to really cement it. Even for grammatical gender, associate the word with familiar things of that gender. Sun, masculine with men, moon, feminine with women. For a masculine word like German pot, he suggests thinking of pot bellies, which you find on men. It's quirky, but it sticks.
It's definitely about creating those personal, sometimes odd connections within your own mental landscape. Okay, so we have the links, the vivid images, and familiarization. How do we put it all together for remembering sequences or placing memories?
Right, he talks about projection of the memory, using external things as memory pegs. But first, linking ideas in a sequence using intermediaries.
That's the idea of finding a third concept to bridge two unrelated ones.
Precisely. He gives an example of someone needing to remember errands. Barley, labor, proverb, spices, lawyer, debtor, debt. Seems random.
But you can build bridges. Barley makes beer, beer's in a beer house. You find laborers in beer houses.
Or spices, red pepper, the color, red tape, officialdom lawyer. You use the roads of thought, often subconsciously, but you can do it deliberately to connect things, like points in a speech.
And then there's using actual external places, mentally attaching ideas to furniture in a room or landmarks on a street.
Yeah, he says this sets up a kind of subconscious expectancy. When you encounter the place or object, it triggers the memory. He even compares it to waking up at a specific time without an alarm clock. Your mind has placed the intention.
Okay, now numbers. They're tricky because they're so abstract.
Very tricky. His first suggestion is to train yourself to recognize their numerical features, almost like recognizing faces or a shepherd knowing individual sheep. You study their properties, which he called number arguments.
How do you study a number's features? He mentions number diagrams. Hard to show in audio, but what's the concept?
The idea is to give numbers a visual structure. He described using dots in squares, where the dot's position could even show the decimal point. So 423 has one visual pattern, 4.23 another, 42.3 another.
You're making the abstract concrete, giving it a shape your mind can hold on to rather than just a symbol.
Exactly. And then there's the really old technique, number words.
Where you swap letters or consonants for digits to make actual words?
Yes, ancient systems did this. The goal is to turn, say, 558 into a memorable phrase like wild elephant based on a code like W5, LB5, D8 in one system maybe. Then you can link or place that word or phrase, which is much easier than placing the abstract digits 558.
Feels like the ancestor of modern mnemonics. And this leads straight into the classic placing the memory technique, the method of loci, or memory palace.
Spot on. You use a familiar place your house, a specific room, and mentally number locations within it, like the doorway is 1, the armchair is 2, the window is 3, and so on. Quintilian described this way back. Or you could even imagine an artificial room with, say, 50 numbered squares on the floor, walls, ceiling.
And then you put your items to remember into these locations. You could use images that look like the numbers or those sound-alike words, or Wood's preferred method, the number words you created.
He even suggests scaling up by using categories for different sets of locations.
Hmm.
Maybe numbers 11, 20 are placed in famous towns, 21, 30 are animals, etc. The real power here is recall flexibility. You don't just remember in order. You can mentally jump straight to location 17 or 42 and pull out the item you stored there.
Okay, fantastic foundation. We have the linking, the images, the placing. How does Wood suggest we apply all this to the real work of the mind, like thinking, reading, and writing?
Right, he calls this the art of thinking. And he pushes beyond just comparing things. He says real thinking involves perceiving cause and effects. But he's careful to distinguish true causality, like the Earth's rotation causing day and night, from just things happening in sequence, like gluttony followed by indigestion, which isn't necessarily a direct cause-effect link every time.
And he brings back the roads of thought here.
Yes, seeing class, parts, and quality as the more rational comparison links, and proximity as that more imaginative, contiguity-based link. He says when you form a logical chain of thought, it helps to consciously name the road between each pair of ideas.
Like tooth proximity, PD the lemp, PD class, mercy. Focusing on just two at a time and naming the link strengthens it.
Exactly. It makes the connection explicit. And he explains why that intermediary idea helps things stick. Two unrelated ideas are unstable alone, but a third idea common to both binds them. Like your hand and a pen linked by the act of writing, they become one functional unit in your mind.
He uses that metaphor, footsteps of thought.
Yeah, the mind walks from one idea image to the next. Your attention is the traveler. It rests on an idea, sees the connections around it, the mental scenery, and then consciously moves along one of those roads to the next idea. The key is, this walking is controllable. You can train your attention.
Train it to go where you want, stop when you want, stay still when you want, and every idea has multiple connections, so there's always a choice of path.
And your mood, he says, strongly influences which path you take, the power of a mood. But crucially, he believes your will can control your mood. He suggests an exercise. Pick a starting word and an ending word from a book and deliberately think your way from one to the other, keeping the end goal in mind. It shows how intention, driven by will, steers thought.
Then there's that core thinking exercise, expansion of ideas.
This sounds fundamental. You take a concept like house or
Yep.
peace, and you systematically explore every possible connection using all four roads of thought.
So for house, class, cottage, mansion, building,
Yeah.
parts, roof, walls, rooms, quality, big, small, cozy, proximity, family, furniture, garden.
Exactly. And for peace, class, virtue, state of being, quality, harmony, tranquility, parts, ceasefire, treaty, proximity, law, flag, dove. Doing this forces you to actively think, make connections, and really organize everything you know about a subject. It's not just recall, it's generation.
How does this apply to reading and studying? His advice here was counterintuitive. Read for correction, not for information. What does that mean?
It's powerful. It means think first, then read. Before you open the book, spend time actively thinking about the topic. What do you already know? What questions do you have? What do you expect to find?
So you activate your existing knowledge.
Right. Then you read, but actively. You question the text related to what you were just thinking, form those vivid mental images. Reading becomes this active dialogue, a mental hobby, he calls it, not just passive intake. And retention goes way up.
For complex subjects, he advises taking it slow.
Very deliberately.
Yeah.
One piece at a time. Get the first concept crystal clear in your mind, maybe picture it, really understand it, then stow it away. Then take the next concept, get it clear. Then, and only then, consciously combine the two. Build knowledge block by block, integrating as you go. Don't try to grasp 5 new things at once.
Use imagination for abstract ideas. Compare new facts to familiar ones using the roads.
Yes, like comparing a new river you're reading about to one you know well. He emphasizes that real understanding takes effort, sometimes a flash of insight, sometimes slow, hard pondering. Concentration is key framing the subject, and anxiety blocks recall. Interestingly, he also values the ability to forget to mentally drop topics when you're done with them.
Okay, what about applying the system to practical things like writing or giving a speech? How does it help you remember your points?
By planning and placing. First, choose your main points, maybe create a symbol or image for each one. Then mentally place these symbols in your chosen memory location, maybe points on the actual stage or locations in your mental house.
So you anchor the main ideas.
Exactly. Then, for each main point, use that expansion of ideas technique to brainstorm details, examples, illustrations. Place these subpoints and key illustrations in the house, too, linked visually or logically to their main point's location.
You're using the roads and imagination to really fix everything in place.
Right. Then, when you're speaking or writing, you just mentally turn your attention to the next place in your sequence. The location triggers the main point and the associated details you stored there. He strongly advises mentally ruminating on the whole thing for days before you actually write or finalize the speech.
And for learning poetry.
Understand the meaning first, always. Then focus on maybe the first, middle, or main and last word of each line as anchors. Learn line by line, but always repeat the previous lines as you add a new one. He also suggests asking questions about the poem and trying to answer them using the poem's own words. But ultimately, get beyond the words to the feeling, the beauty, the core message.
He finishes the mind at work part with more basic concentration drills, right?
Yeah, simple but effective focus training. Things like reciting the alphabet or numbers forwards and backwards, trying to get faster, taking an imaginary walk down a familiar street, recalling every tiny detail.
Mentally replaying your day, tracing the cause of a current sound back through its steps.
Trying to visualize a familiar scene from multiple viewpoints, like what would look like from the ceiling corner. He says this often shows how little detail we actually store.
And mind painting, building up a complex image piece by piece.
Yes, like mentally painting a face. Start with the eyes, add the nose, keep both clear, add the mouth, keep all three clear. Building complexity while maintaining clarity. He knows it's easier if the parts are congruent, like a horse and cart fit naturally. A kangaroo and cart needs a stronger imaginative link.
Also, imagining an object like a statue and seeing it from all angles without mentally rotating the statue itself.
That's a tough one. And morphing images, mentally changing a cow smoothly into milk, into moonlight, into the moon, into the sun. It trains mental flexibility,
And finally, that idea of pratyahara, or inattention.
which is deliberately turning your attention away from sensory distractions, background noise. For instance, to keep your focus purely on your internal thoughts, like being absorbed in a book, but doing it on purpose as a mental discipline.
Wow. Okay, so after all these techniques for focus, memory, thinking, he moves into meditation, which he sees differently, perhaps.
Yes, he defines it as voluntary reflection. It's not about finding new information, but about organizing, activating, and deepening your grasp of what you already know. Regular reflection impresses knowledge more deeply and stimulates further thought.
So concentration narrows the focus, but meditation starts there and then becomes what?
A state of wide-awake consciousness, a sustained, deliberate flow of thought around something you can already concentrate on easily. He views it as an act of self-creation, a way to reach for higher concepts like beauty or truth, and fundamentally, to build character.
And it's about reaching up, not pulling things down.
Exactly. Taking your consciousness up towards higher understanding or feeling, not bringing lofty ideas down just for personal satisfaction or gain. For him, true meditation is self-reliant. It is thinking, just thinking, done incredibly well and with purpose.
How does he suggest meditating on something like a virtue?
Start concrete. Picture a courageous soldier or a patient person you know. See the virtue in action. But, he warns, that image is just a mnemonic, a house for the qualities. To truly understand the virtue, you have to connect it back to real, complex human life, flaws and all. He mentions meditating on superior beings, but flags some dangers.
Yeah, like feeling discouraged because perfection seems impossible, or becoming judgmental of others who fall short. He thinks it might be better to focus on the qualities themselves, or to contemplate the greatest thing, whatever that means to you, by fixing your attention intensely and letting ordinary mental chatter cease.
Like entering a state of intense seeking.
Right. He believes this intense, focused search can create new platforms for your consciousness, potentially leading to sudden insights, similar to scientific discoveries. He outlines 3 stages. 1, attention fixed. 2, thought active only on the object. 3, mind intensely centered while ordinary thinking stops that deep search in the indefiniteness.
And then he wraps up with some really practical parting advice covering the will, the body, work, and stillness.
Starting with the will, he emphasizes voluntary decision. Don't just drift. Decide based on what seems best, even if you don't have all the data. Making decisions strengthens the will.
And then act on the decision, don't wobble. He also talks about balance. Your body, emotions, and mind need to be aligned and well occupied for genuine success, which he equates with character.
And this idea of inward success being primary.
Yes, Character is inward success, he says, and that's the true foundation that leads to outward success. Just having outward achievements without that inner foundation, he calls that failure. That's a strong statement.
Definitely. What about the body?
Give it what it needs: rest, recreation, variety, enjoyment. BUT, demand obedience. Insist on what's truly best for it, like proper food and sleep. Avoid self-pity, don't get hooked on comfort. Maybe even practice a little discomfort intentionally sometimes.
And he makes a sharp distinction between wishing and willing.
Huge difference. Wishing is passive, depending on outside events, waiting for things to happen. It weakens you. Willing is using your own power, your internal agency. The person of will doesn't waste time wishing or complaining. They make the best use of whatever situation they're in.
He even suggests meditating on changing I wish into I will or I will not.
And avoiding aimless daydreaming if there's no intention to act on it.
What about work and play?
Unify them. Work shouldn't be drudgery. Aim to make it feel like play. Doing any work well with care, neatness, grace develops everything. Hand, eye, brain, thought, even your will. But don't overwork. Work should build you up, not deplete you. And don't turn play into work by only focusing on the future outcome. Enjoy the process itself, like his example of the villager enjoying the walk to fetch the mail.
Finally, stillness and relaxation. More practical exercises.
Yes, for stillness. Just sit still, 5–10 minutes, eyes closed, back unsupported above the waist, consciously noticing any aches, but commanding those parts to be still. Don't fidget, don't drift off.
And relaxation.
Learn the feeling. Tense a muscle, hold something heavy, feel the tension. Then consciously release it, feel the relaxation. Systematically stretch and then relax your body, part by part. Imagine pure blackness to relax the eyes. He even mentioned sleeping on a hardboard can force you to learn relaxation out of necessity.
There are also simple stretches, neck rotations, hip rotations for general health, and breathing exercises.
Simple, regular breathing. Slow, even breath through the nose, filling the lungs fully, maybe gently pressing the air up and down internally before slowly releasing. This counteracts the tendency to hold your breath when concentrating hard.
And revisiting pratyahara, that deliberate inattention.
Right, consciously tuning out distractions while you focus your mind. Like a lecture ignoring noise before starting, but done as a regular mental exercise.
Wow. Okay, that really was a deep dive. We've gone from, basic mental links all the way to memory palaces, advanced thinking techniques, and even cultivating will and character from a book written decades ago.
It's really striking how holistic it is. It's not just about memory tricks. It's a whole system for making your mind, well, a sharper, more controlled, more balanced instrument.
And I think the thread running through it all is the strong emphasis on your own agency, your own power to shape your mental world through conscious effort and practice.
Absolutely. Which leads us to a final provocative thought, really drawn from the core of Wood's philosophy. How much more could you really achieve, not just in your external life, your work, your goals, but maybe more importantly, internally in your character, your sense of calm, your depth of understanding, if you consciously applied your will to everything you do, if you work to transform that passive wishing into active willing, treated everyday tasks as opportunities for mindful practice, genuinely insisted on what's best for your whole self, cultivated that inner stillness, and really pursued that inward success as the absolute bedrock for everything else, what might change?